The state legislative session is underway. Among the issues being discussed is what to do about Oklahoma's meth epidemic. In tonight's To the Point, 2 News anchor Russ McCaskey sits down with a state senator from Wagoner who's working on the problem.
We're with State Senator Kim David. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about, as the state legislative session gets going, obviously you have been talking a lot about trying to do something about meth. Tell me a little bit about what your plan is and what you'd like to see to help out all the small towns and even the big towns that are struggling with the meth epidemic.
Well, I'm introducing a bill that will put pseudoephedrine as a prescription drug, just as it was back in 1976. In only the tablet form. I'm going to leave the liquid and gel tab out there so that if someone doesn't have a prescription and they need something right away, they can still go and be able to buy it in that form. But, you know, you have to have the tablet form of pseudoephedrine to make meth. And if we can restrict how much of that's getting out on the streets, will make a huge difference in the number of meth labs that we have in Oklahoma. Okay,
let's talk a little bit about the reaction you've gotten from some of your colleagues. Some people obviously are supportive, but
yes,
others are much less so. So tell me a little bit about what you've been hearing so far.
Well, most of them, you know, they're afraid that their constituents are going to be upset, that the inconvenience of it being put back as a prescription drug. And what I keep telling them is, you know, if you just educate the people in the public that why it's needed and how critical it is, that we're saving lives, that we have children dying, our drug-endangered children are being killed, they're being severely burned. When you look at that issue and you look at the number of tax dollars that are being spent fighting the war on meth, it's a no-brainer to me that you do something like this.
Okay, well, we'll see how that plays out. All right, now, as the legislative session moves forward, a couple of the big issues are going to be, money's obviously going to be tight, and it has been for the last several years, but they're talking about putting some freezes and so forth on judicial pay and some of the elected officials. Is that a pretty good move, you think, with the economy being the way it is?
Oh, I absolutely believe we have to do that. I mean, I understand these people haven't had a raise in a long time. A lot of people, a lot of state employees haven't had raises in a long time. But we're just now starting to get back on our feet, and this is the wrong time for a raise.
And then let's switch gears a little bit and talk about money that is coming in. There's been a lot of talk recently about maybe trying to eventually do away with the state income tax, but it'll probably go down in a certain amount of steps. What do you think might happen this year related to that?
Well, there's a pretty big push for it. I mean, from the governor's office all the way down. I think what people would like to see is if we could simplify our tax code and do away with some of the tax credits that are out there, that we could actually lower the income tax rate and we'll still bring in the same amount of revenue without raising any other fees or taxes.
Yeah, and then eventually over time maybe decrease more and more.
Yes.
You know, when you look at it and you think, and I've heard some people say that we should be able to do that without affecting the core services, but eventually if all that money goes away, I mean, something's got to be cut at some point, right?
Well, I mean, to me, yes, I see your point. They haven't totally convinced me that you can do away with all of the income tax without raising fees or taxes somewhere else. And that's a discussion I'm sure will be ongoing for the rest of the year.
Right. Kim David, good luck with the methamphetamine
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We'll be watching.
And thank you for your help on the issue.
All right, thanks.